Okay, people, let's get this party started. Okay, so now that everybody's nice and relaxed, okay? Today's show, we are going to be speaking about, if you people are laughing free of charge, you haven't shared this video, why are you one slap from here? Then I will now reply here. Share the video. Stop the nonsense. As I was saying. So, this is the 7th episode of Speak With Dilys. Now, for those of you who don't know me, I'm this crazy woman that lives in London. No, I'm not crazy. Well, I am. But I am a life coach, qualified and accredited. The areas that I specialize in is relationships, marriage. I do Christian coaching as well as grief coaching. And the areas that I speak about on my show. So when we talk of emotional stuff, it is vast and it is very wide. Thank you very much, Joa Prempe, for sharing. It's vast and it's very wide. So what you will hear me discuss here are things that you can contact me about privately, and they are symbolic and indicative of the areas in which I coach. So let's read what we're going to be speaking about tonight. Nature tells us a mother carries a child and automatically loves her offspring because that's the natural order of things. But we know this isn't always true. There are many mothers who despise their children for a number of reasons, from preferring other children to hating the fathers they conceived some children with. Growing up with what I call a present absent mother. Growing up with what I call a present absent mother can and often shape the very existence of their adult children. What effect does this have on you as a person, your relationships, your self-esteem, and how you see your value, worth, and existence? In this 2-part episode, we are going to explore this phenomenon and the effects the rejection of a mother has on her son, an adult male. In a world of broken people, we have to stop being afraid of having honest conversations to help and to heal each other. It is going to hurt, but hopefully not for long. Think about it. If your mother, who was supposed to love you, rejected and maltreated you, it means that you are unlovable. That's what you tell yourself. Somewhere in your subconscious, that's what you think. And so therefore, the easiest way to be able to cushion that blow is to stop yourself from loving, so that way you can manage whatever hurt and disappointment that may come your way as a result of that rejection. The process of being able to sit there and saying, I was rejected by the one person that was supposed to love me, is hard. Because often that admission and realization doesn't just come as a standalone statement. You now have a whole spectrum of different instances that confirmed again and again and again and again and again that your mother did not love you. The wickedness, the insults, the abuse, all those things then begin to form and shape this human being that should have been built up but was torn down. And it takes a lot to be able to sit there and admit and say, this is what happened. I was very proud of somebody in one of the groups I'm in. There must be over 200 people in that group. And this person said, if I begin to tell you my story, he said, I will get emotional, so I'm not going to speak. And I said, brother, speak. 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 We have to come to a place where we can speak about these things. We have to start to talk about these things. Because if we don't, how old am I? I'm 50. You've got men, my age, younger than me, older than me, that have gone through life having never really spoken about this issue or problem that they have had. And obviously, if nature does the right thing and their mothers die before them, they're supposed to show up at this funeral or even arrange it and pay for it and behave in a way that really would be truer to somebody that was loved by their mother. And you see, the reason why these things are so important that we do it now, that we start to get healing now, is that when these people go, if we don't address these issues and get our healing, they take a piece of us with them. It's more difficult because you don't have the person to rant at. You don't have the ability to say you hurt me. You don't have the ability to speak your truth. So you become stifled and stunted in that space. and it forms another form of rejection. I mean, grief, when you lose a loved one, you feel rejected, it's an emotion that, quite a valid emotion that you go through. But when you're in a situation where your mother has rejected you throughout your whole life and then dies on you, it is difficult to be able to manage. And what I'm saying is, get in there and do the work so that you are in control. You are in control. Pay attention to the relationships, ladies, as I said, that these men have with their mothers. It will tell you a lot. If you're sensible and level-headed and you're able to read the situation well, you see, I'm trying to think whether I should share this or not. Should I? Shouldn't I? Shouldn't I? Okay. I'm going to share it this way. I know somebody who was not brought up by their parents, but they were brought up by an uncle and aunt. The uncle apparently was an absolutely wonderful human being. And this person spoke very, very highly of his uncle. It just dawned on me after many years that they never really spoke about their aunt. And so I said, one day, we were just having a conversation. I said, you always speak about your uncle. What about your aunt? And the answer I got was very matter of fact. Oh, my aunt had her favorites. And it was left there, and I instinctively responded, and you weren't one of them. And immediately in my spirit, I perceived that she was a very wicked woman. Now, you guys, you may get to know me a little bit and know that I am somebody who is very spiritual. But on a serious note, in my spirit, I perceived this woman to be very wicked. And I actually said to this person, I said, that's because your aunt was very wicked. And this gentleman didn't say anything. I learned something there. And that's why when I was preparing for this, I thought that's something else to look out for. When your friend or your husband, as we're talking about relationships, or your partner is constantly talking about the male figure in their life, even though there was a female there, but never speaks of the female, that's your red flag for them. That is an indicator that this person did not get the nurturing love, care, and kindness that they needed from the mother figure or from the mother. Very telling. And when I looked back at this person, there were certain things that made sense in terms of what was manifesting in their relationships. And I think I actually said to him one day, I said, you know what? I really do think that you need to address your childhood. If you address your childhood, you will find the peace that you don't have in your own marriage by addressing who you were as a child and accepting that rejection of the person that was supposed to be your mother, as well as your mother. Because like I said, this gentleman lived with his aunt and uncle, not with his mother and father. So there already was a sense of rejection of sorts. But unfortunately, going to live with a mother figure that was not really a mother had a profound effect. Considering, I think he said to me that he lived with his aunt and uncle from the age of about 5. A very, very tender and crucial age. An age where every little boy, we're talking about boys here, so let's not, women, please don't jump up. Say women too, because I find it really irritating. But every little boy needs that hug of his mum. Every little boy needs that. And when you're deprived of that, and what replaces that is I can't stand you. And you see, I've seen this happen a lot, where a lot of women hate their eldest son. Like I said, we're speaking about men here, and I'll explain something to you. sometimes I came across a story, again, when I was doing my research, and this person was saying that they were the eldest son, and the mother was just downright evil, would beat him, would do all sorts of things. And I think one day she went too far, and the dad came from work, and he went upstairs to see his son and realized the son was in a bad way, and made the mum go up to him and apologize. And the mum said, "Don't think I'm apologizing to you because I'm sorry. I'm only apologizing to you because your dad said it. And don't think that I love you. I'm just doing it because I had to. And if it wasn't for you," listen to this, guys, "if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be married to your dad." So let me break something down to you. Some of us women who call ourselves mothers find ourselves, bear with me here, in situations where we are either coerced or forced, and it happens, to marry men that we don't want to be married to in our youth. Because I've seen this, it's very characteristic of women in certain parts of the world where they are, for whatever reason, normally, economic reasons, where they're married off or encouraged to marry sometimes older men or not, but they are encouraged to marry before they want to be, and they have their first child. Now, where that first child is supposed to be symbolic of a new era, that child becomes symbolic of the end of their youth, okay? That child becomes symbolic of the end of their youth. Guys, please help me out here and do share this video. A lot of our men need to hear this. So please don't keep this to yourself. If you're watching, please share, yeah? That child becomes symbolic of, to that woman, of the end of their youth. So where they cannot exhibit their frustration and anger of being tied down to the person that made them pregnant, or the person that they're married to, or the person that they are now tied to, guess who they take it out on? Yours truly. They take it out on the child, because the child can't fight back. So the child, that little boy, becomes the emotional punching bag of the mother. That child becomes the cushioning of every negative emotion that she feels towards the father that she's able to project onto the son. Can you imagine, just for a moment, just imagine what that feels like for that child to know that they're not only not wanted, but they are hated and despised by another person whom they love unconditionally. Because remember, in the beginning I was saying that children are automatically wired to love unconditionally until you do something to destroy that love. Can you imagine how divided that child feels and how confused they feel? Well, those are the men, the children that grow up into the men that we fall in love with and we marry and we don't understand. And so I say time and time again that this show is done so that we can have conversations that we would not normally have, to bring people the information that they don't have so that you can use it. Knowledge is power. My people perish for lack of knowledge. Yes. So when you watch my show, I am a Christian woman. If I feel like praying, I will pray. Like I said, I don't do political correctness here. If you feel that prayer offends you, bye-bye. But I'm very balanced. For those of you that are Christian, I will satisfy you. For those of you who are of a different faith, I will satisfy you. For those of you who are of no faith, I love you too, and we have that conversation. And I said in the beginning, you have the lack of that knowledge, and that ignorance is what allows this situation to take residence in our spirit, in our soul, in our mind, in our bodies, in our emotions, and we are not able to get help because we are not able to articulate what the problem is. In fact, we're not able to even identify, because before articulation must come identification. Yes, before solution. So we need to be able to identify, then we can articulate, and then we can find a solution. So these 3 steps is what's required. Princess, thank you so much for sharing. I really appreciate that. That is what you need to do. Because if you don't have that knowledge, a lot of us women are frustrated. And I spoke last week, if you remember, you know me and my water. I spoke about the capacity to love. A man's capacity to love is dependent on how much love he has available to give in terms of his own personal capacity. And I think that day I drank a bit of water, so let me use my glass. So I'll give this illustration again, where I was talking about a man's capacity to love, and that if a man's capacity to love is, his full capacity is here, yeah? This is not good because the water is shaking, right? Yeah. If his capacity to love is where the line of this water is, his full capacity, but he's loving you here. As far as he is concerned, he loves you a hell of a lot. What he doesn't realize is that he is not loving you to the full capacity, which is actually to the top of this glass. Between here and there is all the trauma that he has been through, that he needs to work through in order for this to rise to here. So whilst your capacity to love as a woman is here and his is down here, there is an automatic mismatch and a inability to understand each other because you're not coming from the same place. You, the woman, are feeling unfulfilled. The man is feeling frustrated because as far as he's concerned, he really loves you. In fact, every other woman, he is loved down here. So when he's loving you here, for him, he thinks he's arrived. What he doesn't know, he has missed this whole part out. The capacity to love. Maybe I need to write a book on that. So the reason why these conversations are important is so that we can start to restore our families from a point of knowledge and power. Some of us, we sit there with our spouses, our partners and boyfriends, what have you, and we're trying to have a conversation of healing and progression. It's not happening. Why? Because there hasn't been identification, for there to be articulation, for there to be solution. They don't know. All they know is that they are operating in what they deem to be their full capacity, and they're nowhere near there. That's why Speak With Dilys exists. That's why we have these conversations. So going back to this issue of the eldest son, as to why some sons face this, is because the mothers that have them feel that they are symbolic of something very negative in their lives. Now, instead of these women to also go to their closet and deal with what life has dealt, to them, they take it out on that child because they don't know better or they don't want to do better. This show is not about the mothers, so I'm not going to go too much on what their issues are, because for me, I am dedicated to my men today. I'm here for the men this evening, and it's all about you tonight. And I'm going to go on to speak about how do we manage to overcome this very bitter and painful experience of that rejection. The other one, which I have also come across quite a bit, is where the son is unfortunate enough to look like his father. It sounds so basic, but I am telling you, there are many women that hate their son because they hate the father with whom they had the child with. I can never understand a woman having such level of pain. I've never hated anyone in my life, so maybe I'm not the best person to ask. But, and I'm being honest, I've never hated anyone in my life. I've had people annoy the hell out of me, but that emotion of hatred, I've never felt it. So it's not something that I can identify with in that sense. And, I'm just being honest here. But there are women that have that capacity to hate. Sometimes because maybe the father of that child really disappointed them. For whatever that reason may be, like I said, this is not about the Mother's Day, it's about the sons. And that because of that hatred, once again, everything is projected onto that child as if the child is the father. It's a lot for a child to carry. It is a hell of a lot for the child to carry. So it is very difficult for any child to have to live that. And you see, it's funny because My son looks exactly like his dad, like there's no difference. And, it wasn't the greatest of relationships by any stretch of the imagination. But that part of me, in fact, there were times where I'd be talking to my son and I'd burst out laughing. I'd say, oh my God, you so look like your dad. And we would laugh and he'll be like, yeah, I know. And we would laugh about it. But for another person, it is a source of great offense. Why it's like that, I don't know, because my brain doesn't work like that. I am only just giving you the information as to what it is. Okay, let me read some of your comments. Okay, Denise says, some mothers may not love a child because the child may look like an individual whom she despises. Bingo! See, there you go. It's a fact. Okay. Most commonly, his father. There you go. Erica Rosina Aisha Tazi said, if the mother teaches her son how to love and she doesn't know how to love, how can he love? Absolutely. How can he indeed? Lavender Robinson says, my mother has created a heroin addict for a son due to her physical and sexual abuse of him. No one wants to acknowledge mothers sexually abusing their child. As I said, when it comes to a mother, there is that natural assumption that she loves her child, and we know that that is not always the case. Gloria says, dating such men is difficult. Yes, it's difficult, but the point of fact is we don't know that they are the such men. All we know is that they are men who are not committing, who are emotionally retarded, who may be emotionally abusive, who are very angry, who, are not able to commit. I don't know if I've mentioned that, but we don't know why. And you see, what I do with these shows is I've done so many different shows on different things that brings us back to the same point, which is really the root of the issue. So that when you look at yourself, you watch these videos, or you are dating somebody or you're married to somebody, you'll be able to identify that, hold on, that sounds like John. That sounds like Peter. That sounds like whoever. And then you can start to educate yourself in what would be the best way to be able to deal with John, knowing that this is the issue. How am I able to engage John in a conversation that is non-confrontational, that is sensitive and shows that I understand? Don't use the information. Don't abuse the information that you find. That's not what it's for. It's not for you to, and I don't know why I'm saying this. Ladies, fire of God will thunder you all. If you use this kind of information as a source of insult to your husband or to your partner because you're angry. I don't know what made me say that. What I share is not for you to go and be abusive to your husband, to your boyfriend, to your brother. That's not what it's for. It's for us to be able to be more sensitive and more loving and more understanding to help people to a place of healing. That's what this information is for. God punish you if you use it for anything other than what it was intended for. I'm not joking, actually. I'm deadly serious. Because a lot of times, the men don't want to open up because of the manner in which some of the way we women respond to their vulnerability. It's not helpful. It just goes to show a gross level of immaturity and stupidity. We should feel very honored when anybody identifies as somebody that they want to confide in. What you never do is use somebody's pain as a rod to beat them with just because you need to point score in an argument. In fact, if you feel the need to do that, then I think you also need to have some coaching and some counseling to be able to identify why you would even go there. And I'm clearly saying this for a reason. What I discuss here is to help people heal, not help them to be further victimized, hurt, and humiliated. So please, that is my disclaimer on that one. If you were thinking about it, don't even go there.